Debbie, you said the cycles come to teach you something. So
Mm-hmm.
the possibility is that there was something that you didn't quite get in the last situation with, with your ex-husband,
Mm.
and that maybe this is like, I can approach this a little differently. Or what is the thing that I didn't quite get last time, and what is the lesson that I need to learn this time? And maybe it is also just to see it from his point of view, how he must have felt. Just, sometimes if something repeats in my life, I'm like,
Mm.
something's going on. I need to learn. Universe is trying to tell me something, and I better learn it quickly so I can get out of this. Right? 'Cause I don't want to
Yes.
stay there for too long, right?
One of the things that that lady said to me was, you keep repeating things. And she said, maybe that's how you learn. And I just had to laugh because, like, clearly I haven't learned because I've continued repeating that over and over again. So, like, maybe you're a little slow, but yeah.
A similar conversation with Fazana before. That very similar thing is happening in your life, like over and over again. But this time you can approach it differently, right? And I'm sure it's not easy to revisit your feeling by losing a job to see the similarity there. But I think you're a different person right now, right? And
Mm.
how do you want to approach this time? You see the similarity, but I don't see the same environment like you had before. This time you have a husband who loves you, who offers to support you. How do you want to approach this time?
I want to be very mindful of both my feelings and his feelings, which I was really aware of, that he has his own fears that come up when he's put in a vulnerable position. So his brain was going to, a financial plan for himself, for our family. He's really good about saying our family all the time, but like, see, I did that again. I was like, his finances. But he's just like, whoa, then I just need to know so we can plan, like if we need to cut back, or because I, of course, participated in some of the paying of what we needed to pay to live our life, right? So he was approaching it from a team perspective, just asking me to give input. I think I was taking it like I was a child again, like I think I go less now than ever before because I am learning how to balance this and feel equal in my relationship. But again, right, oh yeah, it touches a spot in me that used to just like feel like a child that needs to be taken care of. And so I already feel like you were saying, and thank you for saying that, like you see me in a more powerful space than that, which is how it feels inside. So it's like, oh, okay, those feelings of smallness, like I don't have to adopt them. That's the recording of my life. That's it. So what do you do when you have a tape recorder? In the old days, you just push stop. I don't want to hear it. Like, no, I'm in a lovely, healthy relationship, an interdependent relationship. I get to be vulnerable with this person. We get to work as a partnership. So maybe what I need to do, how I want to be, is just constantly reminding myself of the truth. Today, there's
Right.
a whole different truth that exists. So what is this voice? It's nothing. It's nothing. It's an old story of somebody I don't even know anymore. Like, that girl is not me. That husband of mine is past. It's over, that storyline. No need to bring it into the present. Thank you for making me say all this out loud. Because this is what health looks like. It's living in the present moment. Everything is taken care of in the present moment. There was nothing not taken care of when I was sitting there talking to my husband and telling him the job isn't going to be happening anymore and that the finances are going to change. Everything was just fine. My brain and the recordings were all firing off from my whole lifetime. Like, oh, what about this, like prepare. Oh, get in your bunker. The war is on. Like, there's no war. if I don't want there to be no war, right?
Are you afraid or wondering, will you become your ex-husband in the story? Not with the alcohol, but do you ever feel that, Jim will be the Debbie of the story and maybe upset with you or fed up in that respect, or waiting for you to contribute something? It was just a thought that came. I just
Yeah.
wondered if that. Okay.
I mean, that would be the other side, right? Like,
Right.
first of all, I don't want to be Lee, right? I don't want to be that person that
Right.
burdens. But am I someone that burdens? No, I do everything all the time. I enjoy participating and contributing to life always. So that's never the issue. I always say I may not be able to contribute financially because that isn't the position I'm in right now, but like I have so many other things I contribute. And so then the other side is what will happen, what is it like to be Jim in the story? And I know what it was like to be Jim because I was that side of the story.
Right.
We know that it's actually okay in the short term, and then as it get if there is such a thing as long term, then you got to hunker down and really be like staying real present and current with each other and responsible. Like my ex-husband may or may not have been responsible. I don't know. It felt like he wasn't responsible because neither was able to stay sober and work a program, nor was he able to get a job. So it was like, okay, that's great. What are you contributing? And he would go golf all day and distract himself because he was really struggling. Like he couldn't accept, it was hard for him. I'm sure he was ashamed big time. So he was hiding not only from himself, but from me and the kids. So the whole thing was kind of a mess, and that's not where I'm at all. So Jim would only need reassurance if he was feeling that way. So maybe checking in with him, continuing to be very communicative instead of shutting down. I have a tendency to just be quiet when things are fine with me, but like just maybe be cognizant that he's wondering, like, am I looking for a job? Do you care about this? Is it like, are you feeling passionate about like getting back to what is helpful to the family? So, and those probably are those would be the only things he would ask. Like, so what are you doing then to get a job? So it helps me to be, I'm very private sometimes like that. When I'm private, I don't have to be vulnerable, right? So I think
Right.
that's why I say I'm private, but really I want to be an open book in a lot of areas of my life, and I prefer that. So when it comes to finances, I've always been kind of private because I never had much. And I always was like, I'm pretty good at making magic with this little amount of money, and I'm good at like living on almost nothing. But nobody else wants to live like that, Deb. Especially this man who makes money to not live like that. So stop. I don't need to bring my poverty mindset into this relationship that is not poverty. I have so much going for me. I need to celebrate the joy of a relationship and a life that is abundant.
Please
We
don't use
heard,
the word burden. You said that so many times, and that
I
doesn't sit well
do.
with me. You're not a burden, and
yeah,
how can you be a burden, to somebody? It's not like you said, "Oh, I'm gonna sit here and live off the fat, and you work, and I'm not gonna do anything." So that kind of didn't sit well with me when you use, I'm a burden. Oh, and so try and take that out of your vocabulary when you're talking about your situation.
It's probably the thing I need to work on, actually. The one you said, is there anything left to work on? I felt like Lee was such a burden,
Right.
and that's not fair to carry that in his spirit, the spirit of who he is in the deepest sense, and it's certainly a weight for me to hold on to. And so I need to look at forgiveness of him in all of what he decided for, because actually I would say I would never trade my life, because the kids and I are exceptional human beings,
I get that whole
even with him
burden
being a
thing.
burden.
Yeah. I get the whole burden thing because I say that too. Like, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a burden to anybody. But I also keep thinking about what we learned in the Jay Shetty program was never speak from a place of lack, and financially speaking, we can never speak from a place of lack. And I think that's so important in what we say, because there's life and death in the tongue, there's life and death in our words. And you're catching yourself, though. You're catching yourself with the old record. You're catching yourself and realizing that you can hit stop. You can hit stop. And I just see so much growth in that. Talking it out, and the four of us, we bounce things off of each other and we listen. And it's, Tadao asks such deep questions, and Furzana, it's just such a healing process that we're almost doing it together. Like we're almost healing together. And where one of us is weak, the other is strong. And I think that's such a beautiful friendship and a beautiful podcast for people to listen to, because you're not the only lady feeling like that. We're not the only people that have struggles or issues or things that we're dealing with. It's amazing the way we continue to peel the layers back of the rose or the onion, or however you want to put it. I prefer to be a rose petal, a rosebud, than an onion. But I'm constantly just peeling back the layers and finding this whole new person under just one rose petal being gone. I'm like, wow, that got buried somewhere along the way. And that's pretty cool that I can do that.
It's so beautiful. Thank you, Victoria. I was just picturing, like, if I'm a beautiful rose and another layer or I'm coming into fuller bloom, that the feminine, soft, vulnerable love that's in me will also connect to my ex-husband, because I'm a new person, and I have been aware that, like, I see him also places. Like, a character came through the grocery store the other day, just loud, obnoxious, thinking he was so funny. He's pushing his cart. The wife is like, following him along, and he's talking to me and he's talking to everybody. And like, he was my ex-husband. And I just chuckled, but I just chuckled because I loved his charismatic friendliness with everyone. He would talk to anyone. And I had a warm feeling inside, and I was just like, Lido, you crack me up. And I felt blessed by his life with me. So the fact that you're letting me bury I'm going to bury that the word burden, because he really wasn't, actually, right? He strengthened me and the kids tremendously. So in gratitude, I couldn't set that down.
He gave you your beautiful children.
Yeah, exactly. Those kids.
You have a beautiful family from that part of your life. And now the soil has been cooled off long enough. When you overwork soil and you have to come in and put the fertilizer on it and you have to let it cool, that's the stage you're in now. The soil was overworked. You had to re-till it up, fertilize it, let it cool off, and now it's just this wonderful, rich soil that you can see in your hands, and it is just lush, and it will grow such beautiful things. And that's the season that I personally see you in right now, and I think it's just going to be such a beautiful harvest for you. I think for all of us, we're in that soil. I see us all being in that soil that has had enough time to cool and replenish all the minerals and the good stuff.
Debbie, you have so much. We always say that you have so much wisdom, and I really, like, my heart is going out to you right now. I really do feel like you. And I want to say, look, when I went through the whole caregiving, it wasn't like all joyous. Honest, I mean, I've been through. There was some really heavy moments and some dark periods, which, I may never discuss, because, you go back to that place, it's just a heavy place. So it's really tough. And it was something he had no control over. So when I think about what you went through, it's like, I can't even imagine being in that space. And I had my moments where I was like, I just felt I couldn't take anymore. And I was like, it was a red light, and I still remember it to this day. And I was like, do you know what? If I drove a little bit, and I can't believe I'm sharing this, but I feel I need to. If I just drove a little bit forward and a car came and knocked me, and not to die, but, if I was like in a coma for a little bit, just because.
Just needed a break.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I felt somebody, somebody could just take me out of it for a while so that I just didn't have to deal with it. It was just so much. My husband's chemo was failing. My son had a heart condition and I was dealing with both at the same time. And I felt so depleted because, like both of you, I thought I had to do everything myself and I couldn't ask for help. And so I will say, I come from a space of having been through all of that and understanding, oh my God, you have to give yourself so much grace. Understand that the moments that we had were a little bit, that were really tough. You know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I always say this too will pass. Anything that happens now, I always say this too will pass because
Yeah,
I've had
I
that
say that too.
dark night of the, soul. I've had that time where I thought, this is, I just don't want to experience this anymore. It's just too damn hard, especially when you see someone in pain and there's nothing you can do for them. And, doing the whole research, and I literally found, you know, therapies for my husband because I was so desperate to get him the latest. I was the one that was telling them, "Have you tried this? Have you tried this?" So two therapies he had was something that I was so desperate to get him well, and then I realized it wasn't my job. It wasn't my job to cure him, to save him. I just had to be there for him. I just had to support him for the time that he was with us. And that's all we can do with any other soul, any other human being. Like, we cannot change them. We can't change their destiny. We can just be there for them and support them and allow them to support you. That's what I say is, let people have that joy of giving you joy. It's supposed to be an interactive thing. It's supposed to be a mutual thing. It's not supposed to be one-sided. And I realize you don't have to be strong all the time for everybody. You can let yourself go. When I let myself go, I picked up the phone and I cried to my mum. I said, I can't do it anymore. And my mum and dad came. So, Debbie, I feel you and we're all in it together.
So beautiful.
I
Thank
didn't
you.
think I was going to cry, but I did.
Well, and we said it here earlier, like letting people into the love story. Like, what?
Right.
We're just letting people into the love story instead of keeping them away. Like, your parents
Right.
wouldn't have gotten that chance to love you. I need to let people love me because that's what I want. My ego is the one shouting the other things that I don't need anyone, but I want people in my life. Even if I don't need it, I want
Yes.
it.
Right.
Maybe that's the difference. The heart wants what it wants. The word want. My head just says I don't need it, but I want it.
Yeah, we're
I
all
And I
think
do
social
need
we
it.
creatures. We need socialization. We need each
absolutely.
other.
Definitely.
We need help, right? And it's so easy to say, that word, I don't want to burden anyone else. You're not burdening anyone else. You're giving them the gift to be of use and to share something that they have. It took me a really long time, too long actually, in my caregiving journey. It took me too long to figure that out.
What you said is so true, Debbie. I think we all want to be loved. We really do, but I think I'm that big fat bumblebee at the picnic, the one that hurts when it stings, because I want that. But when somebody gets close enough that I feel like they're getting too close, then the big fat bumblebee comes out and stings. And then I isolate because I don't want to be hurt anymore by anybody, male or female. I just don't want friends to hurt me. I think I'm protecting myself because I moved to another country and I totally isolate. And that's really not the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be in community. We're supposed to have friends and love each other. And this group, y'all have been so helpful to me in my healing process. And I think that, that's what's supposed to happen. And some people walk alongside us forever and some are just for a little season, but you never know until you give that a chance. And I think just from hearing this conversation today, that I just really have to let go of a lot of fear because my ego is not going to save my life. My pride is not going to save my life. It's not going to feed me. It's not going to do. It's just really not serving me any longer. And I had a friend, Furzana, that her husband died of prostate cancer, but right in the middle of his battle, she had breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
And when he died, she told me, I was at the hospital with her when he died, and she said, I just have to say that cancer is hard on a marriage. Being a caretaker is hard on a marriage. And even though you love a person, even though you want to serve a person, it's not always easy. Even in health, even in great health, it's not always easy to be that servient heart. And sometimes we have to just give ourselves a good talking to realize that. Today, I think about your saying so much about kindness and kindnessing, just being kind and letting people in and letting people love you, but also being weak enough. I just have always not wanted to be weak or appear weak or appear meek or whatever because of the fear of being hurt. So that puts this huge wall and barrier between us and the rest of the world. So I've learned a lot from you on that, and I enjoy your post so much about that, especially when you let your hair down.
I like that hair in the wind.
I do too.
Yes, I do too.
I do too.
It's like, wow, Fabio. Japanese Fabio there.
Let me run my fingers through that.
Oh
Went
my
from
God.
such a serious.
This is
You
like
made me giggle.
Yeah.
the whole
amazing.
gamut. I love it.
Yeah.
We
It's
just
like
want to know.
we're getting so deep and serious, and then suddenly it was just about the hair, right?
It's just about the hair. Thank you for the lightness that's what extends our life. The
That's
laughter,
right.
right?
Definitely.
It's getting all this out, which is good, and then we got to laugh it off, shed it,
course.
bring in the endorphins.
But JB, I have one last question.
Okay.
Do you
Last
love
question.
yourself? Do you love yourself for who you are today?
I do.
Then that's
I love
everything.
myself.
That's the
Yes.
most important things, and that's everything, Debbie.
Yes.
Let's all give ourselves a hug. How wonderful we all are.
Give it a little pat on the
How
back.
well we're taken care of.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's all good. That's what I said. It's
Thank
all
you for the
good.
gift of friendship. Mwah. And for letting
You
me
guys-
say all of
Thank
that.
you.
You guys
Yeah.
always telling me to be kind to yourself, and like you guys need to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
That's why we need you, Tadao.
That's right. We need to hear that.
Well, this went down a road that I wasn't expecting, but
I know.
it was a really good
But
one.
what a beautiful.
Thank you for sharing so deeply, Furzana. That was a
Yeah.
special moment.
Same for
Such
you
a beautiful
too.
journey to watch.
That wasn't one that I was ever planning to share, but I guess you have moments where it just comes out, and
Yeah.
it just came out. So
That breaking point right before the word I can't. I mean, wow, the journey to that word or that moment or that that wall that has to be broken, and it feels like you're at the end of it, but really your parents, everyone that loved you, everyone in my life was waiting for me to be open so they could help. I was the fool, right? But it was a process I had to go through to
get to the other side, you have to have gone through that moment, because immediately after I had that thought, I literally slapped myself. I said, I cannot believe you were even thinking that, because of my two boys. Like, I would never, ever do that to my two boys.
Of course.
But I had that moment, which I call my dark moment, that moment of weakness. And I just needed to slap myself and say, look, that is never the road I'm going down. So I need to figure out what else I can do. And what else I can do came a few weeks afterwards, where I was like, I can't do this. I really can't do this anymore. Because, you'd say you can't do it, then you buck yourself up and you just keep doing it. Then you say you can't do it, and then you shake yourself off, right? You have your cry in the bathroom and you come out, and then you're all smiles, right? And so, and then that one moment, I just was no more smiles. I just couldn't do it anymore. So I had to.
We break out of that captivity of our own thought process, our own mind, and seek help. And then nothing is as bad as it looked from inside that bubble. But desperate people do desperate things, and desperate people think desperate things. And when you're totally exhausted from being a caregiver or from struggling with whatever, going through a divorce, whatever, there have been many times in my life I've been so exhausted, I just would say, I just can't do it another day, And that's when I think the growth really starts, is when you realize in your own strength you can't. But it's been a great learning experience talking with you all today about all of it.
Thank you so much for watching AI Breakout, where our AI stands for Authentic Individuals. Please like and follow, and we love you, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.